You know that thing that everybody says about Tesla being the only brand that started off as more of a tech manufacturer than a car manufacturer? Well, it might not be the only one anymore.
Before we go any further, don't forget to subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on any of our videos.
Welcome to the Polestar 2. Now, the reason that this feels a bit more techy than traditional car brand is because this is a completely new brand. So Polestar is actually owned by Geely, the same company that owns Volvo, and that is why you will see some quite similar sort of style cues from Volvo, particularly the headlights and that kind of thing. But it is still a completely new brand and it has a very different feel to it.
The Polestar gets a driving range of 292 miles with a 78 kilowatt-hour battery initially on offer, which is complete with dual electric motors delivering 402 brake horsepower to all four wheels. All of that will cost from just under £47,000, and Polestar has confirmed that it will offer smaller batteries in the future with a much more affordable 200-mile range option highly likely. Charging happens via the Type 2 and CCS socket at the back of the car and will take 11 hours from a standard 7 kilowatt home wall box. The rapid charging tops out at 150 kilowatts on the Polestar, so if you plug into a CCS rapid charger of 150 kilowatts or more, you'll get an 80% charge in under 30 minutes, or 100 miles of range in about 15 to 20 minutes. The more common 50 kilowatt rapid chargers will do an 80% top up in more like 90 minutes.
So the Polestar 2 is very much a rival to cars like the BMW 3 Series and the Tesla Model 3. But it does have quite a bit more sort of SUV features to it than those cars. It's got this really high waistline, it's got huge wheel arches. I mean, these are 20-inch wheels in here, and yet there's quite big gaps in there. So it does have quite distinctive styling, but I like it. There's something quite monolithic about it, quite robotic. In fact, if Apple designed a car, I think it might look quite a lot like this. Not only that, but it is surprisingly practical, the Polestar. The chief reason for that is because the Polestar 2 has got this excellent big hatchback boot opening, whereas most of the alternatives in the executive class have quite small sort of saloon boot openings. You get loads of stuff in there, big chunky buggies and all that, and there's useful underfloor storage, as well as a grocery bag holder, which looks like a bit of a gimmick, but is really useful. And it also has storage under the bonnet of the car, which is perfect for keeping your cables out of the way. Pretty good back here as well, actually. I can sit behind myself really easily. I've got loads of leg room, not so much headroom maybe, and quite a high window line, but even so, I'd say there's usefully more space back here than you get in a Tesla Model 3, and it's a nice comfortable place really. It's really nice in here too. It's got a really nice driving position. I wouldn't mind a bit more side support, I think, but even so, very easy to get comfortable. You can sit really low in the Polestar as well, which is quite unusual for an electric car, but I think people will appreciate that. Maybe really long-legged drivers might find this sort of bit of the interior here might kind of make your knee hurt a bit on a long journey, but I don't think it's too bad. Lots of cars suffer that too. And apart from that, I just love the look of it in here. It's got real sort of Scandinavian eco-cool feel going on, and part of that is because of this upholstery, because this is a vegan interior. I think it feels quite nice. It's quite durable, very comfortable. Some people might compare it to a sort of wetsuit material, but even so, I think it fits the ethos of the car much better than the optional leather interior that you can have, and I reckon most people are going to be really happy with this. There are loads of little details that you can really enjoy, little things like the wing mirrors. The whole case moves rather than just the glass. This gear shifter here, which looks very cool in itself, actually also functions as a wrist rest to make it a bit easier to use the touchscreen that is your focal point for everything in the car.
So of course everything that you want to control is in that screen. Your climate control, your radio, your maps, and note that Polestar has got a new Android operating system, and that means that you get Google Voice Control and Google Maps with its live traffic info and the ability to tell you when you need to charge the car and where there's a convenient charger to do so. Apple CarPlay isn't offered at launch, but it is coming soon, and in the meantime Apple iPhones do communicate well with the system via Bluetooth.
You can also control a lot of the car's sort of dynamic drive features through the screen, so you can change the steering weight, you can change the traction control, you can change the brake regen. There are 3 levels of brake regen. You can even decide if you want the car to creep when you lift off the brake or not. So all of that is good stuff, but techie or not, it is a car and it's there to be driven, so let's head out and see what it's like.
And that's easy to do because the Polestar doesn't even have a start button. You just jump in and go.
I'm going to lead with the Polestar Performance Pack, which is fitted to this car. It's a £5,000 option, And the reason I'm going to start with it is because it will probably change the dynamics of this car very significantly, because it features 20-way adjustable Olin dampers. For some context, the sort of things you'd normally find on an aerial Nomad rather than your average sort of family hatchback. I think it's very interesting that they've chosen to fit it to a car like this. I think it shows that Polestar wants this to be a car that you're really going to enjoy driving, that you can really get involved with. And in many ways it is. It's a bit firm for my liking, I have to say. I think for a car that really is going to be used as a normal, everyday commuter family car, I think it's a bit much. But if you dial it back a bit, they're pretty good, because they've got really nice sort of suspension rebound, really well controlled. It's got a real pointy feeling to it, this car. And the steering is nice too. I quite like it in the firmer mode, actually, the sort of heavier steering. I normally quite like sort of lighter steering, so that says something really, but it's got really nice sort of feedback going on. There's quite a bit of kickback from the road, which again is fairly unusual for an electric car like this. Normally they've got fairly anodyne steering, but I think Polestar have gone to some lengths to make this feel, like I said, quite an enthusiast's car. Whether this sort of car needs to be like that or not is perhaps up for debate. But certainly it's good to drive, and not just good to drive, but it's fast, like really fast. This thing has got 402 brake horsepower, dual motors, so it's got a motor on each axle. It's got a claimed 0 to 60 of 4.7 seconds, but I've already seen quite a few reports of people who've tested them, and it seems that in the real world they might go quite a bit faster than that. So I think that's a very pessimistic official claimed figure, and certainly the way it picks up on the road, it feels faster than that. Even in the mid-range, you know, from quite high speeds, you can really go for it, and you get a proper sort of squeeze of the kidneys when this thing gets going. It's fantastic. Really nice modulation on the pedal though. It's not difficult to predict or difficult to get used to at all. It's a very easy car to drive quite quickly and smoothly and swiftly. It really gels, and I like that. It is a really pleasant car to drive. The brake regen too, that's really smooth. Again, very easy to use. Interestingly, Polestar calls it one pedal driving. I like it in low. It's pretty unintrusive at that point, and it feels almost like standard engine braking really. Or you can actually have it completely off, at which point the car sort of glides for what feels like forever if you lift off the throttle. If you haven't driven an EV before, all that stuff takes a bit of getting used to, but it doesn't take that much time. I do quite like having paddles to alter the brake regen modes, because with time in an electric car, often you find that you want to vary them quite a lot, because you end up using it almost as you would a sort of automatic gearbox in a normal car. Maybe I'd like a slightly slimmer steering wheel. I think refinement could be a bit better. It's quite a bit of tyre noise. It's on 20-inch wheels, this car, so ride and refinement, I think probably a little better in some of the rivals, but not a deal breaker. And there you have it. I think the Polestar is a really nice thing to drive, and weirdly, for a car that sets out to be so very kind of the digital age, it feels like quite a gritty car when you want to really drive it.
How many people buying a Polestar 2 will really appreciate that grittier nature that the car has is another question, but it is certainly impressive that Polestar's managed to achieve it.
There is a lot to like about the Polestar 2. It's just such an interesting and original car, and I don't think it's trying as hard as Tesla, which is something to like about it. And more than that, it's a comfortable yet really rapid, really fun family car that's got all the perks of an EV, cheaper to fuel, all of that. So what's not to like, really? If I were BMW, Lexus or Tesla, I think I'd be quite worried right now. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the CarGurus channel, and head to CarGurus UK for a whole host of fantastic used cars from top-rated dealers.